and welcome to The Talk with Tariro. Today on the program, we are profiling an exceptional woman who's got 14, 15, 16, I can't remember, books to her belt. That's Faith Chipangura. We really want to hear more from her. How does one become such a renowned author? And just for me, when I think of sitting down to write an assignment, how it's so time consuming, and for someone to release a collection of books, what do they go through? Faith, welcome to The Talk with Tariro.
Thank you for having me, Tariro.
Yes. First of all, we want to know who is Faith Chipangura. I remember Faith Chipangura used to be a flight attendant,
Yeah.
and now she's a renowned author. That's just me knowing you. Who is Faith?
Faith. I was a young girl from a small village in Matebeleland South. Growing up in a Ndebele community as a Shona child, and then finding my feet landing in Harare sometime in 2011.
How old were you then?
I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving to Harare when I was 21, and then when I was 24, I moved away to Joburg to then go do my license for becoming a flight attendant, and then flying for 7 years, and then eventually quitting to focus full-time on writing and publishing. So, yeah.
Why did you quit flying and then deciding to say, I think writing is me?
Timing. I had been writing since 2018 until 2022. So in that timeline, juggling, flying as well as writing, and I believe it's a ministry, because you don't wake up one day and be like, oh, today will be a good day to write a book. So what I write about, my message is encouragement. So to be able to fully encourage women and have the message and be able to take time out with no disturbance, I had to do that. Besides the fact that I was having issues as well with the company and struggling to then say, who am I, where am I going, how far am I going to go with this? I had then to choose this and be able to say, okay, for my voice to be heard, how far am I willing to go and how many people am I going to reach? So when I do it, even when I've quit my job, I'm doing it for that one particular person who needs to be encouraged. Somebody who's saying, I'm coming from the village, but where I'm from shouldn't then become an issue which deters me and discourages me to reach the greatest heights. So that's why I'm doing what I do and the reason why I quit my job.
Okay, walk us through your publications.
Okay, I have 18 to date. Something which is a secret coming out this month end of September, dedicated to women. So the first one I wrote in 2016, and I would only publish it 2 years later. So since 2018, I've been publishing since. Sometimes a year could have 1, could have 2, could have 3, could have 5, depending with really the grace of God to allow me to be able to release those things. So mostly it's dedicated to women. I'll say 95% of my writings are dedicated to women, because I want to empower the woman. I want them to grow and draw from their experiences, not find an excuse to hide behind a finger and say, but I'm coming from a broken background, but I'm divorced, but I've been hurt before. How about you lean into that hurt and that pain and draw something out of it? So the first one is called Amina, which is a 21-day self-love day for women. Second one is Dungeons. Third one is Letters to My Younger Self, dedicated to young people, because most of the times we have kids, but we don't have the conversations that we need to have with them. I remember growing up, we only got to talk with our parents only when somebody has done something. And then it's like, you don't do ABCD because you end up like, but never sitting down to say, okay, there is sex. So let's put it on the table, discuss it, because it's regarded as taboo in our African culture. So all those things. So in that book, Letters to My Younger Self, it's a dedication to my son and other young people on topics which are unorthodox to be discussed with their parents or with adults in our culture. And then after that, I've got Letters to My Future Husband, which is a big hit with the ladies.
Letters to My Future Husband.
Yeah.
Who's coming?
Yes. So this is basically to be able to bring people who are in dating to come to a zone of being able to address very sensitive issues. You know, when you meet a man or when when a man meets a young lady, the butterflies are flying, everyone is excited, you know.
Yes.
You forget to talk about the important things. How are you going to handle finances? What are your parenting styles? What are your beliefs? When it comes to taking care of each other, providing, who's the sole provider, who's the head of the family, leadership positions, to do with all those things that we don't talk about. Because when you're dating a man, you walk into it, you start talking about finances, you get labeled, chinoda mari is a single, you know? The whole time there is even no gold to dig from your pocket, brother. So how about we bring it together and be able to talk about those issues and discuss them? And then the sixth one is there's unkept thoughts, and then there's things we never say out loud. Poetry, basically, it's being in everyone's head. There's things that you don't talk about. Maybe you've been hurt by somebody, but if you say it out, then you're labeled a CC for crying out loud, or things that disturb you. So those are the things that we bring in a philosophical manner to be able to drive introspection and force people to stop and think about those things. And then there's the value-added woman. There's the happiness project, something to do with happiness. People wake up every day, what do you want to be? Oh, I want to be a millionaire, I want to make so much money. No one wants to be happy. Happiness then becomes secondary.
Wow.
So how about we stop and put happiness as a primary factor? You wake me up in the morning, what do you want to be? I want to be happy today. If I make a couple of $100, it's an addition. But when I'm happy and I have peace of mind, I'm able to approach the world and be able to put impact in a positive manner. So those are the things. And then there's a 31-day for women battling depression. Mental health, something which is very, very close to my heart because of the battle I had last year. I had a very public battle with depression.
Okay.
I almost...
On that note, we will come back because that's quite critical. That you writing that book, having gone through that experience, and we do know a lot of people in Zimbabwe, not just women. People in Zimbabwe, young people, the issue of mental health has become quite topical because we are all grappling with it one way or the other. So we would want to learn more around that. Join us after this short break. Welcome back as we continue with our discussion, where today we are with Faith Chipangura, a published author. Yes, before we went for the break, we were talking about a book that you wrote on mental health. Share more with us.
So I wrote a book called Hey Lord. It's a 31-day depression kind of help book. It's leaning greatly on scripture and bringing back women or whoever really is battling with depression. I had a very public battle with depression last year, and I got to a point where I almost committed suicide. That's how bad it was. So when I was there, I then realized, if I'm battling with this, how many other people are battling with it? Some have lost it publicly. There's Rick in South Africa, he hung himself.
Yes.
There's other people whose names we might not know because they've been cornered to a point that they've decided the only way out is death. I've encountered young women who are like, Coach Faith, I have no idea where to even go with this because so much is going on and I feel like giving up. So because of that, that's why I came in and said, okay. When I was going through it, I never intended or even thought that I would write about it because I didn't think I was going to live long enough to be able to narrate the ordeal and be able to talk about it. So when then I came out, and after a million sessions of therapy and also finding my footing and learning that I'm not alone. My mom, that woman who moved the world for me. My mom held my hand through it and said, you know what, it doesn't matter what happens. Whatever it is that you're going through, I need you to know that I'm there. And having that assurance at my age, when you see your mom stop everything that she's doing and leave work and just show up and say I'm here, it really assures you. Some people might say I don't have a mother, but you have friends,
Yeah.
but you have colleagues, but you have a pastor or a counselor, there is always someone who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
So even when you find that the people who are around you, maybe they find joy in that you're going through something, because it's not everyone here. You've got to have the discernment and the wisdom for you to be able to stop and say, can I go to Tari and tell her, Tari, I'm losing it.
Yeah.
I'm drowning here. Can you help me? Whichever way you can be able to help. It could be lending a listening ear, pointing the person in the right direction, or finding them solutions to be able to get them out of that. So that's what the book is about. And then it's also backed by my closest publication, Coming Clean. So it's leaning into that. And Coming Clean really is about getting to a place of honesty with yourself. You know how you go into your closet when you've had the whole day and then you get home? You get there and you're like, the makeup, you're taking off the lashes, you're wiping off your makeup, you're taking off your dress, you're going to bath, and you're just coming clean with yourself. A place of coming to a place of honesty, not with anybody, with yourself.
Yeah.
What's the language that you have when you're talking with yourself? How do you talk to yourself?
Yes.
Is everything okay? So I've had then to learn that when I'm going through the day and everything is done and said, you've been celebrated out there, you know, you're a multi-award winning what, and you've done these great feats. But when I get home, I ask myself, are you happy? Even when I'm here, I could be sitting here and then I'm asking myself, are you okay?
Yeah.
If I'm okay, I'll say I'm okay. If I'm not, it's like, okay, what's wrong? We find the problem, deal with it so that it doesn't keep piling.
Yes.
Because those are the issues that then push people towards the far end of depression, and people are struggling with a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah. So would you then say most of your publications are mainly looking at this one on mental health, and some of them, would you then say they are actually influenced by what you've gone through? What's your motivation when you're penning each and every book?
And so the thing is, I hate what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
I hate having to say that I am a minister. I believe I'm called to minister to the broken women through my experiences. You find yourself in so many heartbreaking situations long enough, and then you stop to ask yourself, why do I always find myself going through these things? Regardless of how hard I pray, regardless of how much I try to avoid trouble.
Yeah.
So what is the lesson behind my experiences? So God has never allowed me to write anything that I've never gone through. I can never write a book about a happy marriage because, hello, yeah. I can never write a book about how to manage your finances as a millionaire because I haven't been there yet. So the moment you come to a realization of that, for every experience that you have, there's a lesson behind it, and there's a reason. There's a reason why God has allowed you to go through it. Yeah. You then approach those issues in a different manner. You see, sometimes we have messy divorces. Everyone expects that to be the end of you. Exactly. But you pick yourself up and be able to become a guide for somebody who's going through it. How about you share, hey, I went through ABCD. I'm not saying go and air your dirty laundry. Pick the valid and applicable life situations and relatable situations where people can draw from. Yeah. Because it's very easy to be at the pinnacle of something and be idolized. Yeah. But are you relatable? Can you give somebody a guide of saying, you can get out of this way, you can handle this and manage it this way? So I write from a place of experiences, never anything that I haven't gone through. So I believe my life ministers to other people. So either I choose to do it or I choose not to do it. If I choose to do it, glory to God. If I don't, He's going to raise another person who's gone through the very same experiences, because I'm not the only one who's had a raw deal with life. There's a million other people. It's just the willingness that it takes for you to say, okay, Lord, I'm here. Use me. I'm going to be a mouthpiece. I'm going to talk about this. Have no shame. Have no stigma. And always keep rising and encouraging other people.
You know, it's quite touching, you really unpacking your own life struggles and then saying, I had to put it into a book. I had to minister to people through what I've gone through.
Yeah.
And with everything, I'm actually seeing a bias towards women. Do you feel women would relate more with your books, your experiences?
So I understand that where it's coming from, because I'm very clear about that. I don't write for men. I really don't know what it is to be a man and the kind of struggles that they
Yeah.
go with. But if they pick up my book and relate with it, +1 point for me. But I write for women specifically because those are the ones that I believe my message is for, and I believe those are the ones that I'm called for.
Yeah.
When I started writing, I don't think I had the clarity of where I wanted to go. But with time and stopping to introspect, you start to reflect and get to a point of saying, okay, who is my message for? There's a lot of people in the world. My message can't be for all women.
Yeah.
My message is specifically for women between 18 and 35. If the age above that relates, that's better.
Yeah.
But because I have the kind of age group that I'm focusing on and targeting, it becomes easier because now I can share those experiences. I've been there. I know what it is to be an 18-year-old who has no idea when it comes to identity. I've been a 24-year-old who's divorced with a baby and not sure where to go from there. I've been a 28-year-old who's struggling in a career and not sure what I'm supposed to do with this. I've been a 29-year-old who's struggling in ministry and I'm not sure where it's supposed to take me or how it's supposed to work out. So I can be able to relate with those. I can't then go and talk to a 65-year-old woman and say, this is how you handle marriage. I haven't been there yet. I don't believe I have that grace to be able to carry me. And that applies to men as well.
We will continue with Faith after this short break. Welcome back as we continue with our discussion. We are hearing, it's almost like an autobiography being said in an audio way. Faith, looking at the fact that everything that you have written, it's your experiences, like what you have said.
Yeah.
And really you are saying people who would relate are those within your age gap and below, because you are writing what you've gone through and what you are actually going through. So would you then say you find solace or you get relief after putting it on paper, especially when you're talking about issues of mental health, issues of even a messy divorce, issues of struggling with life struggles. After penning it down, what goes through you as a person?
I think maybe for the first book that I wrote, I found my balance with a place of healing and level ground. But now, as I've grown older and as I'm maturing through it, I've realized something. It's always best when I go through it, heal, move from it, and then I write about it. Because now I'm no longer bleeding on paper. It's very easy to create an army of bitter women because you know Ningi did ABCD to me, or life has dealt with me a very tough hand of cards and I'm not managing and all that. It's very easy to do that. But when I'm coming from a place of healing, it's almost like delivering a sermon in church. You go on a Sunday morning, you see the pastor before service, he might be a little bit drawn back, or she might be drawn back because she hasn't delivered or birthed what is within them. But after they've delivered, there comes that sense of relief that whatever word I've said or whatever book I've released, there's going to be that one person who's going to pick it up and say, this book has changed my life. So when I approach it from a place that I've made peace with it and I've healed from it. But I come almost like a person who's birthing to say, I'm delivering this and I'm hoping whatever it hits out there gets the transformation that it needs.
And the key question that others who might actually want to be writers would ask, I know last week we asked Tembi that same question. Does being an author pay? Because with people, it's bread and butter issues.
That's a very good question. I'll be very honest with you. Being an author, not necessarily pay you the way you would want. So you find that you have to create other streams of income. For example, I'm not only an author, I'm a publisher. I've opened a publishing house and I've published quite a handful of people. So that now is my day-to-day job and it's my stream of income, whereby people approach me for editorial services. If I'm to say I'm living from selling books only, that would be a big lie. Yeah, and I'm not a liar.
Yeah.
So to be honest, being an author in Zimbabwe doesn't pay much because you find that you are competing against the basic commodities at home. Your book is going for $10, $15, $20. Somebody's thinking in their head, what can that $20 get for me in the house? You find our economic situation is not really favorable. So you find that books become almost like a luxury, yet it's things which are necessary, which can transform people's lives from just reading, and it's an investment into their personal development. So it doesn't pay as much as you would want. And if you had to quit your job and say, I'm going to write only, you might really disappoint yourself. So find other means. What are you good at? What's the gifting? What's the calling within that marries with that? If you find that it doesn't only work, you've got to create multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
You cannot only say, I'm writing only to earn a living. I'm writing, I'm publishing, I'm doing thrift shopping, I'm doing ABCD, but have other things on the side which are able to help you.
Okay. What does it take to be a writer?
God of Nazareth. What does it take to be a writer? I would say discipline. To me, discipline is the ability to do what you said you would do long after the excitement of saying I will do it is gone.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a message, but the discipline to sit down and type it out, the discipline to then show up and say, okay, I said I've got a book coming out end of September, delivering on those deadlines without anybody following you. Those are the things. That's the first one. And then the second one I'll say is the message. I'm seeing a rise of, I'm not a gatekeeper, let me start with a disclaimer. I'm not a gatekeeper for the publishing industry, but I'm seeing a lot of young people who are popping up, but there is no message. Please have a message before you come and write. It's very easy to do TikToks, and do the voiceovers and be like excited about it. But writing, it's as sacred as ministering to people's lives, because the person who's going to buy that book is going to have to be transformed by your book. So write something which is worth reading, or something which is worth transforming another person's life. Otherwise, if you don't have a message, I can blabber from page 1 to page 192. So in the end, what have they gained out of that? So have a message. That's number 2. And then number 3, consistency. It's one thing to be like, oh yes, I'm disciplined, I'm going to write once a week.
Yeah.
But are you going to be consistent in your writing? Out of the 56 weeks that we have, how many times are you going to write in a week?
Yes.
And you've got also to show up with that same consistency that you do. People in the corporate world, 8 sharp work starts, they're already in there. But you're a writer and you're like, I'm going to write on Tuesday evenings by 9, and then at 9, you're busy maybe watching whatever you're watching on TV. So the things that you've got to do, you've got to align with what you've said you're going to do and show up every time.
If there are young people who are actually watching you and maybe contemplating going either into publishing or becoming writers, because already from what you are saying, to say, what is your message? Because there's always that pressure to say, people are not writing, but we're not all writers.
True.
Yeah. So somebody who might actually just be watching you and is saying, I think the road that Faith walked, I would want to follow it. Or I've got that passion, but might actually not know the nitty-gritties. What would be your message to them?
You're really putting me in a corner. I'm a very tough one. I'm straightforward when it comes to this. Know your why. Every time somebody's like, oh, I want to write a book, I'm sorry, but I'll pop your bubble. Because I'll ask you why. Why do you want to write a book? It's exciting to say I've written 14 books, and it might sound like, oh, it's very fancy. So now you want to write a book, or you want to do a show because you've seen Tariro on a show and a guest, and it looks fancy. But really, what's the reason why behind writing? Your why is what is going to anchor you and hold you down on days when the sun is not shining, when it's not so fancy to write about the experiences that you've gone through, when the message you have to say is not something which is celebrated by people, but it's something that needs to be said and delivered. Those will be the days that your why is going to anchor you. So start by knowing your why. Secondly, have a message, and always remember who you're writing for. Or for everybody, there's a lot of people, and it's not everybody who's going to receive your message. Write for the particular group that you know you have been called for, and the particular group that you're called to minister to. We've got, for example, different religions. We have ATR, we have Christianity, we have Judaism or whatsoever. It's not for everybody. It's for the particular group of people who believe and think they resonate with it and are glued to it. So that's the same thing with your message. When you're writing, those people are going to read your books. They are the people who are called to you for you to minister. You're not called to everyone.
Indeed, powerful message there. So if you were contemplating going into writing, you heard it from Faith. Need I even say more? Join us again next week as we continue with interesting discussions here on The Talk with Tariro. Until then, it's goodbye.